Evening, guys and girls, how we doing? Uncle Shredder here for another little chat. So, what we're going to talk about today is not over-complicating the process. Right, back in the day, when I started training, back in the mists of time, like 34 years ago, we only had one goal, and that was to eat, sleep, train, and do it again. And that was it. There was no tiny little add-ons and little minute details. And if you can maximize those three things, then 80% of people are going to get enough from maximizing those three things alone. Tiny little things, tiny little minute details, right? People getting all hung up about them and worrying about if they've got enough attention to detail with things like nutrient timing, occlusion training, insulin use, multi-compound stacks of performance enhancing drugs, supplements, off-the-shelf supplements that have been proven to work, but not enough to make a huge difference. Not enough to warrant their use, in fact. And I'll give you an example. HMB. It's off the shelf. Get it in the supplement store. It has been shown that it did provide a positive result. But realistically, if you were not concentrating on sleep, eat, train, and you're worried about your HMB, you've got your priorities wrong, right? Concentrate on the big three. 98% of people do not need to worry about things like snacking halfway through the night, setting an alarm halfway through the night to wake them up to get some more protein in, right? You don't need to worry about that. That's like tiny, minute detail that like the IFBB pros would be doing because they're completely and totally, utterly obsessed with what they're doing and it's their livelihood and they are either IFBB pros or they're on the edge, just on the cusp of maybe becoming a pro. So it maybe is worthwhile in their instance to do that. But realistically, if you're not getting these three things nailed down, then all this extra tiny details and the little niff-naff and trivia is not going to do you any good. Now, I always use these analogies like cars, to do with cars and automobiles, because that's what we understand. Now, if you're worried about getting your HMB and your glutamine, but you're not concentrating on the big three, then that's like trying to restore a car by polishing a little bit of chrome work when the engine needs rebuilding. It's not going to work, is it? That's clearly not the right priority. So, in terms of what you do for sleep, eat and train, let's just go through what I do for my clients. And the first thing is we're not bogging them down with all these tiny details. We're not sticking them in the mud and giving them too much to think about. We're giving them a solid, simple, effective set of things to do that they can actually stick to. If you start pushing things at your clients like nutrient timing, you must get 20 milligrams of this and 40 milligrams of that exactly 36 minutes before you work out, they're never going to be able to stick to it. Never. So, really easy. Just let's go through the three. Sleep. Easy. 8.5 hours a night to sleep. 8.5 hours, right? Be an oversleeper, not an undersleeper, right? If you're cutting, if you're trying to cut weight, people that sleep 8.5 hours, if their diet is right, will lose 80% of fat, 20% of muscle. If you're an undersleeper, which is about 4.5 hours, complete reverse. You're going to lose 80% of muscle, 20% of fat. These two groups of people will lose the same amount of weight, but the proportion of what they lose will be vastly different. Okay, eating. Two things I see all the time. Not eating enough. We have very enthusiastic people at the gym who seem to think that eating is going to ruin their looks and their physique. But if you are smashing yourself to pieces at the gym every week, you need to fuel them workouts. If you are sore, if your muscles ache, if your joints ache, if you find it hard to sleep, then chances are you're not recovering properly. And it's a combination of not enough sleep and not enough food to fuel that workout in the first place. You're running on fumes. You're trying to smash to pieces a workout and you can't do it because you've not got the energy. You've not got the work. You've not got the diet in place to match the workload that you've given yourself. And training. Again, overtraining. Overtraining is a massive deal. Undertraining, definitely. But realistically, the people that I work with, if they're an undertrainer, if they train way too easy, chances are they don't come to me, because why would you? If you're just happy just lolling about, doing a bit of exercise in the gym, and there's nothing wrong with that, it's fine. Then realistically, you're not the kind of person that's going to seek out a coach and a personal trainer to really hammer your workouts. So, yeah, usually the people I work with are actually overtraining, doing too much. It's like every single set they do, every single workout they do, every single time they're in the gym, smashing themselves to bits. So, on that note of overtraining then, the clever way to do this would be to do your first couple of sets and then you want to get really serious then. Now, you want to do your first set when you started putting a decent bit of weight on the bar after you warm up. You want to be doing a set where you feel like you could maybe do 3 more reps. That's it, stop there. And then your next set, you push on and you stop when you can only do 2 more reps. Third set, you stop when you get to 1 rep, 1 rep away from total annihilation. And then you get 1 set, but not on every exercise, right? And I'll explain which are the ones you will do exercises on to the max and which ones you won't. You would do 1 exercise then where you go to 100% failure and then you do some forced work. So a good example would be bicep curls. Bicep curls with great form, up and down, can't do another rep on the concentric, and then you just let it go on the eccentric, and then you control it on the way down, throw it up into the air, hold it, catch it, and then release it slowly and control it on the way down. Okay, so that'd be a great example of some forced reps and some forced work. However, there are exercises that I would never do. I would never do massive amounts of work. I've done it in the past, but it almost kills you, right? So these are some exercises that I would give you for really high effort sets. So let's start with legs. Well, you could do really high efforts on your thigh extensions, not squats. I've done squats before on to death type sets, and it almost kills you. I mean, in terms of shocking your central nervous system, it's a massive, massive, massive effort to recover from squats to failure. You're better off doing thigh extensions where you're not going to feel like you're dying. So, for the same reason then, on your back, you were doing something like seated pull downs or seated rows. You would not be doing deadlifts. On your chest, you could do cable presses or cable flies, and then for the reason that you don't want to get stuck under the bar, obviously you're not going to be doing bench press, are you? Unless you've got a buddy to help you, you could do it then, I suppose. Shoulders, you would have to do all three heads of your shoulders individually. So you would go to a maximum effort on your front delts with a front raise, then your side delts with your lateral raise, and your rear delts with a cable reverse fly. What you would not do to failure and force reps would be something like a military press. So the loading through your body, and again that shock would be just too much. On your biceps, isolate your biceps. Get on a preacher curl. Don't do it standing up. Chances are when you get tired, you're just going to start cheating the reps anyway. So, yeah, pull the bar up on a preacher bench, let it go down, throw it up, let it go down nice and steady. That's a great way of getting some negative reps at the end of what you're capable on your biceps. Triceps, you would do push downs for obvious reasons. You wouldn't be doing skull crushers because you'd probably end up with a crushed skull. Yeah, that's what would happen there. So keep it simple, guys. Don't overcomplicate things. Sleep, eat, train, repeat. And that repeat thing is very, very, very important, right? If you're one of these people who goes to the gym and goes crazy for a week or two, and then you have 2 weeks off, and then you have another really hard week, and then you have another week off, 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks off, you're going to not do as well as the guy. And you might be doing 100% work at the gym all the time then, but you're not going to do as well as the guy that's just constantly turning up, constantly going through the things, constantly doing what he needs to do, doing the reps with 3 in the tank, 2 in the tank, 1 in the tank, 1 forced set. But remember, forced sets on the right exercises, okay? So that's it. That's just what I wanted to talk about today. Just forget about these minute details because we're not IFBB pros. We do not need all that nip-nap in our lives, which at the end of the day makes it just more difficult to stick to the big 3. Eat, sleep, train. Remember them. Just keep going with them and get a good coach and get somebody that's going to maximize them 3 and not push all this minute trivia down your neck that you don't need. 98% of people do not need that last 2% of nip-nap and trivia. Okay, that's it for me tonight. Signing out, Uncle Shredder. Catch you on the next one.